Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video I will show you how you can create this very simple open world map. We will be using the Landmass tools to really easily create a high detailed terrain, and then we'll use the built-in water tools to add water to our scene, and finally paint some trees and foliage on our map. Also, I'm starting a Patreon where you guys can support the channel and also get some cool stuff. So I'll be uploading this map to my Patreon, as well as other projects, blueprints, and other things that I create here on the channel. So if you guys want to download that, go ahead and check out my Patreon. Link will be in the description below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. The very first thing that you want to do is create a brand new project or use an existing Unreal Engine project. In this case, I'm using the Lyra starter game, but this tutorial will work with any other Unreal Engine project that you have. So go to the File, New Level, and we're going to go to the Basic and click Create. Before we do anything else, we want to go to File, Save Current Level As, and then go ahead and name your map and click Save. Okay, now we can go ahead and delete this floor, and we're going to create a landscape. So to do that, we can go to the select mode and change this to landscape. And if we zoom out here, you can see the green grid that will represent our landscape. You can increase the overall resolution or also the size of the landscape. So 1009 by 1009. Will get you a pretty big landscape. I'm going to go with a little bit of a smaller landscape, the 505, the one that we had it before. And before you click the blue create button, make sure you click this enable edit layers. Really important that you remember to click that checkbox. Now click create, and now we have this nice landscape that you can go in and sculpt. But we're actually not going to use any of the sculpting tools, so we can Control Z to undo that. So the very first thing that we want to do in our landscape mode is on the sculpt tab, you want to click on this blueprint right here, this little blueprint icon. Then underneath the blueprint, we have tool settings and a blueprint brush. So I want to click this drop down and select custom brush underscore landmass. Now if we click anywhere in our level, we're going to get this small little triangle here, and this is a basic landmass brush that we can use to create our open world island. So you can take some of these points and drag them out, but before we start shaping this, we want to modify the shape of this brush, because right now it's just a pyramid. So we can go in the details panel, and if you scroll down here, you're going to see this fall off window. Just expand that. And we want to click this cap shape checkbox. Now it's going to be really flat, so we can go ahead and increase the height. And down here on the Z offset, we can increase this to a value of, say, 3000. So now we have sort of this island shape. And now you can select these spline points and just Alt drag. Hold Alt on your keyboard and drag off like so to duplicate these spline points. So we're going to do this a couple times to get a basic shape of our island, and you can break things up a bit. You don't have to make it super fancy at all, because we will edit some of these settings here later on. So just get the basic shape, and if you accidentally click off of your landscape, you can select the custom brush landmass brush here to get your spline points back. So now we have a rough shape of what our island map is going to entail. Now we can start playing around with these settings. So here in the details panel, if you scroll down, we're going to see this curl noise tab. So this will add some breakup on the edge of our island. So let's increase the curl strength 1 to a value of, say, 1, and you're going to see it introduces this breakup on the side of the island. The curl strength 2, we can go ahead and increase this to, say, 0.5 or 1, 2, and you can see as you increase that value, it introduces more breakup, more uniqueness to the edge of our landscape. So we can take some of these different points and pull them in, and if you want, you can adjust them to your liking. Now we can also adjust the curl tiling here, and I'll show you what this does. If we increase the tiling to 20 or 10, you can see it adds more detail the farther up you go. So I'm going to leave this around 20, and the curl 2 tiling, we can adjust this to maybe just leave it at 6. Next up, we're going to scroll down here and add a little bit of terracing. So at the very bottom, you should have this terracing tab. We're going to set the terracing alpha to 1. And this will introduce a little bit of terracing on top of our landscape. And you can see as you increase the terrace alpha, it adds more of a flat playable area for your map. I'm going to leave it at these particular settings. You guys can mess around with it. So now that we have our terracing, we can add some little bit more details, and that way it doesn't look completely flat. So if you go over to the displacement here, under the displacement height, we can set this to a value of say 1000, and you're automatically going to see we are starting to have this breakup, and our landscape looks a lot more detailed. Under the displacement tiling, we can also increase this to 10, and you're going to see that we have more of this noise added to our landscape. That is a little bit too extreme. We can set this down to 4. We can also increase the height to 1500, and you're going to see it adds sort of these hills. Now that's a little bit too much, so we're going to increase the tiling here, say 1, and that's just going to add some nice hills and breakup so that it does not look entirely flat. Now the very last thing that we can adjust here is if we scroll up to the very top, we have this fall off, and under the fall off angle you can adjust how steep the cliffs are on the side of your island. So we can adjust this to say 50 like so, and I think that's probably a good setting where it's at. And now if we hop out of the landscape mode, you can see we have this nice little island map, and we're ready to add a landscape material. So to add a landscape material, we're going to go to the Unreal Engine Marketplace, and there's actually a free landscape material that we can use. So if you head over to the Unreal Engine Marketplace here, if you search for Easy Build System and then filter by free, you're going to find this Easy Building System V10. That is entirely free that you can use for your Unreal Engine project. So go ahead and download and create this project, and you can either create it in Unreal Engine 4 or 5, it doesn't really matter. But once you've created the project, go into the content, Easy Build System, Materials, and Masters, and you want to go ahead and migrate this _stylized landscape. So go ahead and right click that, go to Asset Actions and click Migrate, and then just click OK. And you want to navigate to your PC, Documents, Unreal Projects, and then the name of your Unreal Engine project, so in this case the Lyra starter game, and then into the content folder. So wherever your project is installed on your hard drive, you'll just navigate to the content folder of that project. Just click select folder, and then just click yes or yes all. Now there's one more material that we want to migrate. So in our materials, instances, stylized, we want to migrate this mi_stylized_landscape. Right click and click Asset Actions and migrate that. Click OK, and just migrate it to your content folder, the same folder that you've done, and just click select folder and click yes or yes all. So now to assign our material to our landscape, all we have to do is scroll up, go to the Easy Build System, under the Materials, Instances, Stylized, we have this Material Instance Stylized Landscape. With that selected, you can select your landscape, go into the Details panel, and under the Landscape Material, click this arrow icon to assign it to your landscape. Now once you assign it, you're going to have this black landscape, but don't worry, to add the texture, all you have to do is go back into your landscape mode, head over to the paint, and then in the layers down here, we're going to add a layer slope. So click on this plus icon and click weight blended layer. And then this window will pop up. Just find a location to save this file and make sure that there aren't any spaces and click save. And if we go back into select mode, now we have our landscape here, and we can see we have grass on the landscape, and it looks really nice. Now one thing that I want to adjust real quick is the slope on the sides here. So if we go back into our landscape mode under the sculpt, we can select our landscape custom brush mask here, and in the details we can scroll up here to the fall off angle, and you can see we can easily go in and adjust the angle or the fall off of our landscape. So I think that looks a little bit better. So now that we have our landscape material applied, let's go ahead and add some water. So to add the ocean water, click this cube plus icon, and down in the all classes you want to search for ocean and select the water body ocean. Now if you don't have the water body ocean, you might need to go to your plugins. So go to edit, plugins, and search for water, and make sure that you have the water plugin enabled, and you might need to restart your project. It should be enabled by default, and then we can go ahead and select our water body ocean and drag and drop it into our scene. So you can see it added this nice ocean to our level, but it ended up ruining our landscape here. So what we want to do to fix this is we want to go ahead and select these points and just go ahead and bring them in like so. And now we want to bring this down a little bit, and then to undo what it's done to our landscape, we can go over to this landscape water brush manager. So in the details panel, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the details, underneath these settings we have this effect height map. We can uncheck that, and now you can see we have our landscape here with our water not affecting our landscape. So now we have our nice little island map here, and things are looking pretty good. So the last thing that we want to add is some trees and some rocks, and maybe we want to add various mountains and things like that to our landscape. So let's start with some mountains and hills. So if we go to our select mode and to the landscape mode, we can go ahead and right click under our layers and click create to create a brand new layer. Then with our blueprint selected, we can go to the blueprint brush and click the none, and drop down and click the custom brush landmass. Then if we click in our level, we have another one of these landmass brushes that we can use to add some mountains or hills. So again, we can go in the details panel here and start adjusting some of these settings. First, add some curl noise. So we can do 1, and we can go ahead and move these arrows around a little bit. Okay, we might want to increase the overall height of this. So let's go to the fall off and add a cap shape, and then we can add a Z offset of maybe 300, 400, 500. If we want something a lot taller, you can add 1000, and that will add sort of hills that we can move around. Let's go back to our curl noise, and we can adjust things like the tiling, so you could add more of a rugged sort of terrain and really adjust the settings to your likings. So it's really just a matter of playing with the overall values. Okay, so maybe we want to go ahead and select this brush and move it down to this southwest region of the map, like so, just so we have sort of a rugged terrain for our players to play around. Then maybe we'll want to add some mountains. We can go ahead and add another landmass brush up here, and instead of adding a cap shape, we will actually increase the fall off angle to make it a little bit more steep. And now we can go ahead and drag this out like so, and we can scroll down to add some curl noise. That way we can add sort of these mountains. Okay, and once you get the desired look, you can also add displacement as well to add some overall detail to the mountains. Last but not least, we do have this blur size, and what the blur does is it kind of smooths things out so they're not as rough. So if you don't want the mountains to be as jagged as they were, like so, you can take this blur size up and increase the value to maybe a value like 2. Okay, and then if you deselect the brush and then reselect it like so, you move the entire brush as a whole. You can also rotate it to move it around the level. You can also Alt, drag, and duplicate the brush if you want to add another mountain. Alright, so lastly we want to add some trees and some rocks to our level. So back in the easy build system, there are actually some trees that come with this free project. So right click the tree, browse to asset. We have these 3 tree models. We can right click, asset actions, and select migrate. And then we can click OK and just choose the content folder of your target project and then just click yes all. So now that we have those trees, we can go ahead and exit out of the landscape edit mode. And then in our content folder in the easy build system, we have the meshes, environment, stylize, foliage. We can go into the modes and switch to the foliage painter mode. So now we can go into our content browser and shift select the trees and drag them and drop them into our foliage painter. Shift select the trees in the foliage painter and scroll down to the details. Here we can change things like align to normal. We can uncheck that, and we can also add a randomized scale, min and max. So let's go ahead and add a min of 0.8 and a max of 1.8. Okay, then we can increase our brush size and start painting. Now you're going to see it painted a bunch of trees here, and we can undo that. And maybe we want to actually take our scale down a little bit, 1.3, and then take our paint density and decrease this to 0.08. And you can see we can paint some trees on our landscape, although they are a little bit big because we don't have the largest landscape. So I can Control Z this, and we'll just set our max to something like 0.9 and our minimum to say 0.5. Okay, we can increase our brush size again and just start painting some of these trees here on our level. And it's totally up to you where you want your trees located and how you want to customize your landscape. Alright, so that looks pretty good. We can also add in some various rocks. So back in the easy build system, right click one of these rocks and browse to asset. You can see we have various different stones that we can paint onto our landscape. Either right click all of these and migrate these into your project. And then back in here, if you go to the environment, stylize, organic, we have our rocks. Go into the foliage mode, unselect these trees, and then drag and drop some of these rock meshes into our foliage folder here. And then you can see we are painting some of these rocks on our landscape, and we can shift select these, and you can add a uniform min and max. Say we want to have 2 on a max, maybe 2.5. That way we get some boulders and things like that. So we can start painting these all around our level and in the forest to add some simple breakup to the way our level looks. Now, once you have your level finished, if you are following my Lyra starter game tutorials, you can go ahead and add in the world settings, add the shooter elimination game mode here. And if you go to the create tab and add real fast a Lyra player start, you can go ahead and hit play here. And we can spawn in our level, and we can just run around our scene and see what it looks like to play the game as an actual player. So yeah, that was pretty much it for this tutorial. Just a really fast way that you can easily create a island map using some of the built-in tools such as the landmass and water system to very quickly get some great results. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you guys subscribe for more future Unreal Engine tutorials, and leave a comment if there's a particular tutorial that you want me to work on or create. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.